Hello, and welcome to the Santaland podcast. I created it just for you. I'm your host, Tony Felice. In each episode, I'll read to you for 10 minutes, and then we'll talk about what we just heard. Like the cricket in my story, I'll guide you through a grown-up fairy tale, one that explores ideas of existence, identity, and the soul's journey through trauma, and the transformative power of love. By the end, you'll have heard my whole story, a sneak peek into the creative process of bringing a book to life. Maybe we'll read other books together. But for now, follow the wise cricket and discover the Santaland within yourself, a place of hope, connection, and peace that's already inside of you. This podcast is especially made for those like me who feel a little different and maybe talk about math at weddings or philosophy at funerals. And like me, maybe you have a loving husband, or a wife, or somebody else that loves you. If not, we're here to love you, because you're in good company, my dear friends, here in Santaland. Hello, and welcome back to the Santaland podcast. Tonight we read chapter 29. I say tonight because I'm making an assumption that it's evening for you guys, because I usually do this in the afternoon or evening. Okay, chapter 29. A few sparks start to fly. Later that July, on a humid day, after a peaceful shower and a nap, Tom had closed the barn door and headed to the house, thinking of linoleum schools, mothers, fearless people, love, and the fact that he had to convince Meredith that something was coming, that he wouldn't let her down. I listened to his thoughts, hoping he'd land on a clue that I could substantiate with my song. Tom thought to himself, "Mama, what should I do?" Wendy responded in his mind, "You can do it. In fact, it's already done. But you have something else to do. But you must be prudent." Prudent? Tom thought. Why the hell would my mother choose that word? But there it is again. Prudence. Well, if the last year required it, then I have failed miserably. Prudence. Prudence, he thought. Someone famous, perhaps? Prudence Farrow was celebrated for transcendental meditation. The Beatles were nuts about it. George wrote a song about her as an invitation to go outside and gain perspective. Was Wendy telling him to keep going? To reach out to Farrow? Would Prudence be like, "What the hell does Tom Sanders want with me?" Or would she be excited? Another acolyte with incense burning in his soul. Atonement. Contrition. Thanksgiving. Supplication. When Wendy died, she had hovered in the room for a half an hour at least. He felt it. He was so angry when they came to take her, and he had to let her hand go. He wanted to scream, "The hell you are!" he'd shout. "I'm her firstborn son. I decide when my mother leaves." But he didn't. Instead, he smiled weakly, pleading with his eyes. "Are you sure? Can I have more time?" He knew she was hovering. But people often rolled their eyes at Tom, especially at the intuitive, almost clairvoyant Tom, the one that saw patterns, and sometimes eerily predicted the future. David knew about that part of Tom. It was their secret. The rest of the world didn't need to know everything about the two of them. But what did Wendy mean by prudence? Tom thought to himself. Why would she whisper that? Was it a book title? A character? Am I moving too fast? My books? Prudence. It must be a breadcrumb to something. Tom hoped time would tell. Time. Chirp. I sang to him. Tom! Prudence is discernment and action in conformity to reality as it is revealed in creation. But prudence is not charity. Charity is the motivation for all good acts. Prudence is the deliberative, judicial, and decisive means by which charity manifests itself. Heed this, my beloved. As Tom had these thoughts, I followed along quietly. It's quite easy to hide in the grass. He walked toward the house, crossing the flagstones and the pole with washing on the line. His bare feet broiled on the surface of the flagstones. He danced across them, smiling, thinking of something Rosie had said to him so often that he now teased her with it, threatening to make her voice a ringtone. "Only poor people hang their clothes, Mr. Tom." "Nah, everybody does," he had said. Rosie was only interested in efficiency. So for her, while the sheets reminded her of Suluskawa, a small village in Poland, it was too fine a house for such nonsense. Tom liked the way that sheets smelled when they dried in the sun, especially if a light sprinkling happened before the evening sunset. Fresh sheets reminded him of Wendy. He didn't tell Rosie. Why spoil a good time for her? "If you didn't holler at me all the time, you wouldn't have much to do around here," he'd joke with her. But Rosie cared for Wendy, and she saw her in Tom. She had opinions about the visible nature of the clothesline, and she took every opportunity to remind him. Tom recalled Wendy saying to him as a boy, "You spend half your life on these sheets, they better smell good." He remembered sliding into those sheets as a boy, when the sun hadn't fully set, smelling them, taking in the poetry of the yard in smell instead of words. Slightly damp, because that's the way it is in Maryland in August. WPGC on the radio, and a boy cutting the grass on a riding mower, dreaming about a life he wanted. In Tom's teenage bedroom, there was a poster next to a beer can collection. A framed poster of Einstein, and another for Maryland Center for the Arts, 1981. But the main poster, the one he really loved most, displayed a forest scene, and in the center was a single dogwood tree in bloom. The pink blossoms of its canopy stood out against the lime-colored leafy green trees that surrounded it. Pink petals fell on the grass. At the top, it said, "To be different is often a wonderful thing." It was a secret of sorts, out in plain sight. He was different. He knew it. Wendy knew it. To this day, Tom does not remember where he bought that poster and what happened to it. Like all mysteries, many details go unnoticed, even by eyewitnesses. Rosie signaled at him from the front porch, and then she shook her head and went back to her sweeping, waving him off as if he was the single stupidest person she'd ever met. Tom laughed. An idea was starting to take shape. Ingredients for a good story. He could smell pot roast from outside. Entering the house, he popped his head into the smaller butler's kitchen. "I've got to make a thicker sauce," David said. "Aha," Tom said. "The pot thickens," in radio announcer voice. He turned and walked down the hallway, but heard his cell phone ringing where he'd left it in the foyer. Tom turned and rushed back. "Hello?" he said, answering it in time. "Tom, I'm being honest with you," Meredith said, getting to business without so much as a how to do. "I know," Tom hesitated. "I have to tell the board something." She sounded exasperated. Capital E. Chirp. "Drats!" He took a beat. "I'll have something, I promise. I have faith in you, Tom." But Tom was distracted, intent on finding me. He grabbed a magazine from the foyer table and started to roll it up with deadly intent. "Don't worry. I'm fine, obviously." "I wouldn't be with you if you didn't have faith with me," he sighed, half paying attention. I froze, silent by the chair. "Well, get it moving. You have to produce something. The returns on Cigar were respectable, but darling, that was 4 years ago." Code word for "make me millions again, Tom," he figured. It snapped him to attention. "You know I've been struggling, and I'm exhausted." Oops, that sounded like a threat. "Tread carefully, Tom." Ugh, she said. Pause. Silence. Tom thought, she's regrouping. She'll pivot now. Before Tom started to respond, she cut him off with a lullaby voice. Listen, honey, I know you hate coming to New York this time of year, the smell of urine and all. I know everything you hate. Well, why don't I come to you? We'll talk, we'll eat good food, and you can take me to that hole in the wall David's always talking about. What do you say, sweet cheeks? Tom waited, suspicious of an ambush. And do exactly what, Mare? You can come here, but I don't have a lot to show you right now. And you know how I feel about being pushed. He played his card. That's why I'm coming, honey. Get me a case of the rosé I love, and that's all I need. The rest is up to you boys. And I have a little news. David will be thrilled, of course, Tom replied. Another pivot, he thought. News? Can't be good. He should be, Meredith replied with snark. I can smell you cooking up something as much as David, Tom said, deflecting. Ha! Oh, honey, how in the world do you think I came to run this little anthill? By being Mother Teresa? She replied. You're the nicest person I know. Stop, Tom said. Only to you and David. The rest of the world is so tedious, darling. People shudder for a reason, my dear. We have that in common, Tom replied. But I'm a wooden dragon, and you're a fire dragon, he offered as a red herring. What does that mean anyway? She asked. Never mind, he thought, smiling. Tom knew better than to go too far with Meredith. There was only so much math and so much philosophy, or woo-woo as she called it, that she could take. Not that she didn't love Tom, that was evident, and he felt it. But while she loved the esoteric nature of his approach, she, like all money-focused people, was fearful. It took her years to get Thomas Sanders. To really get him, David said. Absolute faith, though, was elusive, no matter how successful their partnership. Tom thought, why would she be coming to see me, if not to badger me about the advance? Well, to be frank, she should be giving me a break, thought Tom in an entitled way. After all, he had made her publishing house his home after the first book was successful, and as a gift, over time, he brought Meredith all of his friends, Reynolds, Jackson, Olivia, and others, not to mention his 8, quote, misfit toys, he said, referring to his novels. For many years, Tom served in the laboratory of his own mental vivisection, carefully picking apart his psyche and those of his friends in every book he ever wrote. He had a responsibility to words, but he needed to learn the responsibility to learn from those words, not just string them together into pleasing phrases, but to be prudent in his charitable heart and to deliver more than sermons from a mount, but to learn them and to craft them into ideas that can last and can be built upon. In the meantime, he, quote, stole sentences, especially from those that would easily disregard them. He dissected word and meaning. They became armor or power. The ability to create with words is a talent, but it is a fickle beast. As surely as a brush can become tedious for a master's hand, the words that tumbled out of his fingers onto the screen were colored by tensions, anxiety, and dread these days, but laughter tomorrow. Words don't choose a side until you force them. They flow, endlessly buffeted against ideas and possibilities. He thought, honestly, why do I care so much? So many other successful authors don't seem to care, and they're commercial successes. But he kept trying. Each book ripped an entire theme from his life and spread it out for the viewing by the general public. Would they pilgrimage their calendars to ensure they could attend this next event? The resurrection of himself before he resurrected the work? Where is God? Tom wondered. He thought, is it in David? In Wendy? Does God sit in David's chest or his fingers when he holds the reins of a horse to teach a blind child to ride? "Keep going, Tom," I sang. "All the pieces are there. Just work on your transitions and keep your big idea front and center." Then I sang to him a riddle about going forwards instead of backwards. As he placed the phone back on the table, abandoning my murder and setting the magazine away, Tom readied himself for an Independence Day of his own making, whether anyone knew it or not. Chirp. Okay, so what did you guys think about that? Do you understand what's happening? So he's on his way to the house and he's thinking of his mama. And my mother did say the word prudence to me when she died. I know she said it to me, and I thought to myself, what the hell is that all about? If anybody knows me, I guess most people would say I'm a nice guy. I'm not a bad person, you know? But I am big-hearted, and I am overly emotional and passionate. I'm passionate about my work. I'm passionate about ideas. A lot of times people that have criticized me have said I pontificate. And I don't understand that, because the last thing in the world I want to do is stand on a stage and tell people what to do. I mean, I know I'm doing this podcast, but I'm in a room by myself. I'm reading my work to you. I'm putting my heart out. I wear my heart on my sleeve along with my history, you know? And so whereas I used to take those as hits, I used to take them personally. I'm not trying to be a member of anybody's club anymore. I don't care, honestly. I don't care if I'm not a part of some certain club or I used to think that I had to do, I followed all the rules, did everything that I was supposed to, and the world turned upside down on me. And I got to see a lot of bad people being rewarded for bad behavior. And it didn't make sense to me at all. And so prudence is something I can understand. I'm famous for saying that, you know, art is sustained by structure and discipline. You know, people think artists are flighty, but they are not flighty. We go through the scientific process, man. We throw our shit against the wall and we see if it sticks. And we put ourselves out there for ridicule or embarrassment. You know, years ago I was in an improv troupe, and I was discovered doing improv, and it led me eventually to Hollywood. But the idea of standing on stage and telling people what to do is not my forte at all. But standing on stage and pulling my pants up to my neck and putting a wig on sideways and a pair of funny glasses and making a funny noise and going out on stage, yeah, I can do that. That's fun, because I'm sharing, man. That's what I'm doing. I'm sharing. I'm not pontificating. Used to think that I had to take that hit and swallow it and put it in my muffin top, as I like to say. For things I don't understand what to do with, I just put them in my muffin top, because where the hell else am I going to put it? It's energy reserved. So the purpose of this is to signal that not just sparks are flying between he and his editor. And please forgive me if I do a poor job on the dialogue, as this is not an audiobook, it's an author reading his work. So yeah, you know, bear with me here. I think you can appreciate that. I know you can. That's why you're here. I know I'm talking to the choir, you know. I know that there's somebody there saying, I got it, I get it, I understand, I know what you're saying, right? And so here's the cricket. And who is the cricket in this tale? I want you asking that question of yourself. I'm not telling you right now. I'm asking you. Who is the cricket? What's the cricket's purpose? When is the cricket talking and when is Tom talking? And if it's difficult to distinguish between the two, is that absolutely necessary? Ideas are endless and they flow, and they rub into each other. Have you ever seen the way waves connect with other waves, right? You have this radial pattern, and then it comes together, and it forms these beautiful diamonds, right? As these radial patterns come together, but they come together so naturally. They didn't expect to encounter one another. They're particles having a wave experience, droplets of water that are literally in motion. Okay? Matter, agency that has energy. That's a perfect example of what I was saying before. Things with agency have energy, and things that are energy have agency. Circular reference. Why would Tom be rolling up the magazine and trying to swat the cricket? Is he hearing the song? Is the song driving him crazy? Is the song simply reminding him of time? Is it like a clock ticking, right? Ever present? Or the symbolism for luck and good tidings? These are great questions to ask. And I promise you, as we get through the entire book, maybe you'll start over again, you know? And maybe by the time you get through this, and by the time I publish every one of these podcasts, I will be able to bring the work to you in some form, you know, as an audiobook performed by somebody who's an audiobook artist, or published, you know, who knows? And if none of that happens, I'm super cool with that, because I did it. And the reason why Tom is successful is because he did it. The reason why anyone is successful is because they first thought of it, and then they had the courage to try, you know? And I don't look at my failures as failures. I look at them as opportunities to learn something, and they were very painful to go through, a lot of them. But they got me to this place because I am a particle having a wave experience, man. You know? We're all going to get where we need to go. Love's going to win out every single time. So why doesn't everyone just chill out and go along for the ride like these waves? Maybe sound waves that come together, like we talked about the last time. How does sound and frequency influence spin and gravity? And what is the difference between internal gravity and external gravity? External gravity defies logic half the time, right? It behaves on a quantum level different than it behaves on the level that you and I exist, versus the highest macro level of the universe, or looking at the wheel, the spiral of galaxies. I mean, this stuff is awesome to think about, you know? That's why artists exist. Art is dangerous because it forces us to think, to see ourselves. Art, I am not responsible for, but I am a caretaker of the experience that you have of my art, because I want my perspective to have meaning. Do you know what I'm saying? For the same reason that I specifically choose black friends, or specifically choose Latino friends, or gay friends, or straight friends, or old friends, or rich friends, or not so rich friends, educated and not educated. I hand select people because they have a differing perspective, and within that person, a single representation of a whole lot of culture and a whole lot of awesomeness that we pinch ourselves off from. Why? Why in the world would you pinch yourself off from wanting to know, why in the world would someone change their gender? My goodness, what does that take? And where does God fit in all of this? Because God is all things, male and female, right? I'm telling you right now, if we all woke up and just loved each other and trusted each other and cared for each other, then everything would work out just great. Things would be things would be Santa land. And that freedom of choice that you have right now, do you choose to think yes or no? My equation that I came up with, I swear to you, I feel like it defines the all of everything, and at the end of it was a question. What do you want? Isn't that a powerful thing at the end of the day? And wouldn't you always choose love? No matter what the question is, the answer is always love. Period. End of sentence. No matter what the question is, the answer is always love. Thank you for joining me again on this episode of Santaland. I love you, and I'm very sincerely glad that you are a part of this journey with me.